Our reading this week is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentary on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. This week's reading is, Does God Hide the Truth? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In last week's reading, we saw that the great masters themselves counseled discretion in the dissemination of truth. The counter-argument is sometimes made, but the Lord doesn't hide. He reveals his beauty in the sunsets, his tender sympathy in the rain, his wrath in the thunder, his restless energy in the brooks, his power in the sunlight. There are exoteric truths, and there are also esoteric truths. There is that which is revealed impersonally and left up to us to interpret, such as the thunder and our perception of it as divine wrath, the rain and our perception of it as God's sympathy. But behind even God's most open expressions, there lies impenetrable mystery. The wind blows where it wills, said Jesus in the chapter 3 of the Gospel of St. John. You hear the sound of it, but you do not know where it comes from or where it is going. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. And Sri Krishna says in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, by me the whole vast universe of things is spread abroad. By me the unmanifest. In me are all existences contained, not I in them. God's hidden reality cannot be understood by the reasoning faculty. India's Sankhya philosophy states frankly, Ishwar Asiddha, God is not provable. A willingness to seek the underlying reality behind appearances is essential for those who would know God. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, great souls.
Good morning.
I have the distinction of giving this talk last year at exactly this time. It was a day, I think it was August 7th instead of August 6th. So last year, when the message was, does God hide the truth? I said, no, God doesn't hide the truth. We hide from the truth. And this year I'm saying, yes, God hides the truth. I'm putting it, all the blame goes on him. It's just, And actually he doesn't hide it, Maya hides it, the cosmic delusion. I've been kind of reading up on what Maya is. And it's interesting because Yogananda said we are in a state of duality. Everything we do is finite. We are in a constant state of becoming. We've taken our infinite selves and we've got a blanket thrown over the top of us. I mean, imagine yourself sitting in the astral world and a gigantic TV set. Work with me on this one. But the static that you see on a TV screen when there's no channel and it's just black and white and it's just all of this? Well, imagine that those are all just gigantic pairs of opposites. And what you do in the astral world is you dive into that screen and you come out to this life. This is where you're at. How are you going to get back to that sense of reality? Because everything you do here, you're an ego. You're attached to the body. I'm hot, I'm cold. My eyes, I can see, I can't see. I can hear, I can't hear. I can think of this, I can think of that. Everything is wrapped up in duality, in those pairs of opposites, in that delusion. And that's where we're at. And the truth is, how do you get out of it? Yogananda gave us those keys, those Kriya keys, the meditation keys, that there is a way out, but for the most part, We don't see it. The ego is a tough, tough thing to get rid of. Yogananda's, Yukteswar Master's, Yogananda's guru said the ego is hard to dislodge except rudely. And it's kind of, it reminded me of the story of the lion, that the lion cub that was lost in the woods and was raised by a herd of sheep. And they took him in and he grew up being a sheep. And finally this other lion came walking by one day and all these sheep, including this lion, took off running. This lion looks at him and said, "That's a lion. What's he running from?" So he runs over to the lion and grabs him. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "You're a lion." And the lion goes, "But I'm a sheep." You know? And he says, "No, you're not a sheep, you're a lion." And, "No, I'm a sheep." So he grabs him, he pulls him over to a pond. And he's got his eyes closed tight. And he says, "Open your eyes, open your eyes." So he finally opens his eyes and he sees his reflection and it's exactly like the lion. And he kind of begins to realize, oh, this is who I am. And that's kind of our reality, you know? We've got this thought, this ego that we're this one thing when we're not at all. We are absolutely, totally free. You know, there is a pathway through to space, is what one great author, I've talked about it before here, one great author said. And he was saying that after he had gone through these great cosmic states, that there was always this opening in his consciousness. There was always this space. And he said that was God. It was that spirit of truth in everything that he did. And it was always there with him. And it's the same with us. It's always there with us, but we have to want it. You know, God's not going to... Yogananda said God is very shy, and he will not come to you unless he's absolutely convinced that you want him, and then he's there immediately. But that's our battle. We have to realize that, you know, hey, maybe there's more to this life than what's out here. You know, some people... I was like a little bit like the lion or the lion cub raised by sheep when I came onto this path. I was lucky. I was around brothers who were on this path. I had a brother who had that sense of truth from the time he was born. It was there, and it ruled his life. And when I moved into him, in with him in my early 20s, I knew everything, but I wasn't enlightened at all. And we used to, like I said before, we've got in these big arguments about what truth is, and I finally, you know, he basically took me to the water pond and shook me and woke me up, you know. And some people are like that. Other people, it'll take a lifetime to find that truth within you and to realize what your path is, to realize how do you find God, you know? How do you get from this sense of duality out into a real world? Excuse me. Yogananda said that in this life we should be able to conquer our sleep habits. You should be able to sleep at will, to dream at will. The ancient sages we have a way out. And we have to tune into that and figure out what is right for us and find our way out. It's funny, I went to a family reunion last weekend, and the people in it are very, very good people. My family, I've got 4 brothers, and most of them have a lot of kids, and this was 2 brothers actually, and their families, and there were like 20, 25 people there, and there were a lot of kids, and most of them are grown up in Eastern Washington, and they're very good. They're raised in a Catholic religion. I mean, one of the kids is the quarterback for his football team. I mean, they're good kids, but it made me realize there's something missing there, because I grew up, well, I didn't really grow up, but I moved to Ananda village, and I lived there and watched kids grow up in a spiritual environment where were surrounded by people with high ideals. And they learned to meditate. And I'm not saying that their challenges were any different. They had, drugs and alcohol and all that same thing that most teenagers grow up with, all the peer pressure with it. But there's a vibration there that's missing in my brother's kids, because they don't have that. I don't know what it is. It's being raised in a spiritual environment. It's being raised in a vibration that there's a sense of integrity there. I mean, you can't find, religion isn't an intellectual setting up exercise. Meditation is a vibration. And people who meditate have a vibration, and they're spiritual. Yogananda said, if people would become more spiritual, all wars would end. And I looked at that and I thought, what's he mean by spiritual? He means people actually seeking God, trying to find God in their own lives. It's not a belief system. I look at the politics of today, and it's just stunning to me. It's just despicable. The things coming out of people's mouths, I look at it and I think, I don't even want my kids hearing this. I don't have kids. I'm lucky. But I thought, this is horrible. And it reminded me of, I think it was John Adams, I'm not quite sure, but John Adams and his wife Abigail used to write letters to each other all the time. And one of these letters, I don't know what happened to it, it got lost, and the newspaper picked it up, and it was his wife Abigail just berating somebody that John Adams was running against for office. It was one of these strange things. And the thing that impressed me the most, they printed it in the newspaper, and they asked this other person he was running against about it. And he goes, well, first of all, it should have never been printed in a newsletter, in a paper. He said it was a private letter between a man and his wife. And he said, that is between them. The world, it's not our place. And I thought, wow, integrity in politics. What would happen today if that would happen? If somebody found a letter between Hillary and Bill or Trump or somebody like that, it would be on the front page of the paper and everybody would be talking about it. I mean, spirituality is real. It isn't an intellectual setting up exercise. It's not something that you can think about and then walk away from. Spirituality is real. It's your search for God. It's how you tune in with God. And that's what this hiding the truth is all about. That's what it means to be spiritual. It's I don't know. It's just amazing to me. It made me realize, I began reading Swami Kriyananda's book, Why Spiritual Communities, How to Start Them and Why. And it really made me realize this is really what we need now. We really need, it isn't enough to be raised spiritually. The vibration of other people around you that are in the same like-mindedness, it lifts the vibration of everybody, especially the kids. I mean, Ananda Village has really got something going for it with those kids that are coming out of there. There's just a quality there that's missing in the world. And it's what the world needs. And I think in the future, Yogananda said that this work would spread like wildfire. And it's going to have to, because it just can't go on any other way. I mean, spirituality is where it's at. It's what everyone needs. There isn't really a heck of a lot more that I can add to it. I look at what Ananda is in Seattle, and we have a very small community. There's only 30 units, and there's not very many kids there, and it's more of a teaching center, But we really, I think, in the future, I think we really need to pull together and live, a spiritual life with other people and share that vibration. I think that's what's more important today than anything. is getting out and sharing the vibration of who and what you are, because that's what makes it real, you know. It's not easy to get out of the ego, like I said, you know. It traps us, it holds us back. And to be really, really, I don't know, it makes it easier to be around other people who uplift you. And they don't force you to go another way, but you just begin to realize what the truth is in yourself. You become more centered, your self-esteem rises, you begin to realize what's important in your life, and you begin to share it with other people. And it starts out slow, but eventually, you know, from one person to another, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And that is our work, you know. God doesn't hide the truth so much as I guess we do hide from it. You know, there's so much stuff out here that, you know, it's going to make us happy. There's got to be something outside of ourselves that's going to work for us, you know. And we do have, that's one of the other things I found too with people, especially in the outside world. You have to find a way to serve. You know, for a lot of these kids, it still is they're not sure what they want to do with their lives, and a lot of them that have, they're still pretty self-centered in it. And until they find a way to serve, they're not going to find a way to be happy. And I think it's true I think we've all realized that somewhere in our lives, that there's a level of service. I mean, you know, I think that's why people become parents, you know, so they can, you know, they can share their love and their understanding with their kids. I mean, it's, you know, it's buried underneath the dualities of life about what our true purpose is and what our true nature is. And it's going to take us a while to really wake up and to realize what we need, what we are. And luckily we have people like Yogananda and great saints that come and say, you know, look, it's spirituality is where it's at. Once you really decide to find God and really dedicate yourself to it, he'll come to you. But until you reach that point, it's just kind of, yeah, maybe, you know, it could be fun, but yeah, I've got other things to do. And as long as you keep putting it off, you're trapped in that duality. And it's hard to get out of. I mean, look around you. I mean, I've said it the last 2 times I've said Sunday service, and I'll say it again, the world is just a gigantic mental hospital. And we're all just trying to fight our way through it and find our way through it. And that way through comes from inside. It's getting off the surface of the body and realizing that we are infinite. We are joy. We are bliss. We are love. That is our nature. And we get caught up in the duality of everything else and forget that. I want to read a thing for Whispers of Eternity here, but my eyes are getting weak, so I'll make them stronger with another pair of glasses. But this is entitled, I vow never again to turn my gaze from thee. I take this sacred vow. Never will I lower my love's gaze below the eyebrow horizon of my constant thoughts of thee. Never will I turn my uplifted inner sight away from thee. Never will I let my mind dwell on anything that reminds me not of thee. I disdain the nightmare of ignorant behavior. I will court all dreams of noble achievements, those of love, kindness, and understanding. They are thy dreams. Though I dream many dreams, wakefully I will ever think of thee. In the sacred fire of constant remembrance, keep ever alight on my soul's altar. I will ever behold thy presence with the watchful eyes of devotional love. Thy grace has shown me the dualities of health and sickness, life and death, joy and sorrow are all but passing fantasies. I am finished with those eternally self-canceling delusions. I am persuaded at last that there is but one abiding reality, thy eternal, ever conscious, ever new, ever thrilling, infinite bliss. So that's all we have to do to find the truth, is just turn our gaze from the outside to the inside and make it real to yourself. That's all that matters. The rest of it is just fluff.